Hey, everybody. We are back on such an important night, too. The vice presidential debate is happening. COVID is still happening. It's 2020, and we in the midst of a whole lot of stuff. So I want to say thank you for tuning in. I am pleased as punch to have this most handsome gentleman in our midst tonight. So many things, but I'm just going to say handsome because I just love the album cover look you have right now. It's got the like dramatic black background and cool glasses and a goatee. You are too many things. So, Ron Carroll, thank you for being here. I
Thank you.
appreciate.
I'll be sending you your check for your for your I forgot the
No,
word.
no payment
Uh,
needed. All that's for
no
free.
payment either. We okay?
All
Okay.
that's for free, honey.
All right. That's what's
But
up.
listen, I love you. I know we've got a lot to talk about and a short time to do it.
Yeah.
Some of you are tuning in. Thank you. I know. I don't know if the debate is over. So today is October 7th, 2020, and it's a month before one of the most monumental elections of many of our lifetimes. I was saying to Ron before we got started that I would love to do a political show, and I'm happy that this is happening on the night of debate, so we can talk a little bit about politics before we get into Ron's amazing
Yeah.
trajectory in house music. But there's so much going on. What do you think, Ron? What are your thoughts? Just start anywhere you like.
I mean, I just believe that politics has always been a game. It's always been a show to me. I always felt like we're in this Truman Show esque situation, and it's something that's just like religion and other things, is to put you on one side or the other. I think
Hmm.
we just need more free thinkers. We need people that can think for themselves more and not be led by different things like media. Don't get me wrong, media is important, but it can also be used to sway your opinions and things like that. We don't study as people. We don't study a lot, and we don't look into things the way we should. And I think, especially with this election, um, because it's so intense, I think
Hmm.
people need to look into it a little deeper than the norm, because there's a lot of things beneath the veil or behind the curtain that's going on that's causing it to be this intense. So I think we need to look into it more
Yeah, I
for sure.
appreciate you saying that. We talked about this last week, and if you're tuning in now, thanks for tuning in. We have Ron Carroll with us. We're going to talk about his musical career in a second, but we just want to talk because it's such a monumental year, because it's such an important election. No matter what side you're on, it's an important election because it
Yeah,
does. We're at a precipice. We're at a place where we haven't
absolutely.
been in anybody's lifetime. None of us
That's
have
right.
lived through a pandemic before. Not, my
No.
grandparents did, but none of my parents were born then. So we
Yeah,
there's so much that's unprecedented about this time that we got to really consider. Um,
absolutely.
so, I mean, I think tonight's debate had Kamala Harris, significant first African American woman to be on a major party ticket for a general election.
Hmm.
I watched a bit of it. I don't know if you caught any of it, but she seemed to have
Yeah,
Mike Pence on the ropes.
you know, um, I'm not gonna lie. I think having a woman in that type of office is a great thing. Don't get me wrong. I think it's amazing, and I think, but I don't think she, per se, personally to me,
Mhm,
is a good representation of
mhm,
of our people. I mean,
mhm,
she has the skin tone. She has the skin tone.
mhm,
And I believe that she's an emotional piece that's being used right now, because they
mhm,
want they want our votes. They want us to be involved. So they just get somebody within our skin tone to
mhm.
come in so that we can be swayed. Because a lot of
Right.
times black people, we are swayed by the skin tone,
Mhm.
and I think that we need to like look deeper into people, because a lot of things she did years ago was against us a lot.
Yeah. So, I think you're making a point. Clarence Thomas was picked for his skin tone, and he is certainly not in support of anything black, and has said so on the record. So, skin tone
Hmm.
shouldn't be dictating anything. I, I,
Exactly.
I, I will say there's a woman that I know who I won't mention now, but she's a pretty well-known strategist. She was a Republican
Okay.
strategist, and now she's more independent, but she's worked on both kind of campaigns. And I said, you've been working in this field for many, many years, and she supports women and men. She has reported both sides of the fence, and so I respect her opinion. And I said, what do we need? What do we need in this country? Now, this is somebody who's got like, you know, tens of years of experience and has worked on both sides. And she said to me,
Right.
we need a woman. And I said, really, just that
Mm-hmm.
simple as just any woman? She's like, not just any woman, but if you change who's in the office, you change the dialogue. And right now, the dialogue it will not change until we have a woman in that space. So I agree with you, Ron, that we have to do that. Is Kamala Harris the right one to do it? I guess we'll see. I like your point about people being used because I don't think you could be at that high office without anybody being used. Everybody is used. Everybody
Oh
is
yeah. Oh yeah.
somebody's
For
puppet.
sure. For
Everybody.
sure. For sure.
All right. For
That
some
high
people
office.
not
That's a
watching
diff.
this debate. Say that
Yeah.
again.
No. No. Being in that position, I mean, you have to sacrifice a lot of yourself, of
Mm-hmm.
your normalcy. You know what you think regularly. You got to sacrifice a lot of that to get to that high position because you're dealing with a lot of high profiled, white men in suits.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be honest.
Right. Right. One. Yeah,
You know, are
go
black
ahead.
people tired of, white men in suits? I get it. I know
Right.
you're tired,
Right.
but I want everybody to know that what's happening, in my opinion, what's happening, Lori, is that there's a system that's been in place a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
now this system is being challenged. Just like
Mm-hmm.
presidents beforehand, you had
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy. Kennedy got up there and said, "Look, we're not going to be led by secret societies. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to be
Mm-hmm.
led by secret societies." He did a whole speech
Right.
because he was tired of that machine
Mm-hmm.
running the country. They killed him.
They killed
Correct?
him. Yeah. I was
Absolutely.
reading about this president. Some of you might not have ever heard of this guy before, but he was a president during the Reconstruction era. His name was James Garfield. Have you ever heard of President James Garfield? So
Absolutely.
there was,
Yes.
after Lincoln, you had Johnson, who was his VP, who was a racist and a jerk, and did his
Mhm.
best to try to repeal Reconstruction. Congress kept vetoing, overturning his vetoes.
That's right.
And then you
That's right.
had, Grant, who was a decent president. Then you had this Rutherford B. Hayes, and you had this guy James Garfield, who was around like in 1881. He was elected. And what was interesting about Garfield is he's one of those people who was doing the exact same thing that you're talking about. So if you never heard of him before, just Google him. But he was
Mhm.
in office for exactly 6 months. And
Wow.
what he did during his inauguration and one speech he gave while he was campaigning? He was
Mhm.
talking about how never that he saw in the Civil War white people burning the American flag, fighting against America, and he had never seen any black people do that. That black people were
Mhm.
the ones who were standing up for the Union, who were trying to keep it together. And now post pro slavery, we're trying to put them down, put them in their place. One
Mhm.
white president who was telling the truth, and he said all this during his inauguration, that on my watch, all that's going to change. And all you people who think it's not going to change, you're in for it. And guess what?
Mhm.
He was killed 6 months later. Now,
See?
it was a deranged guy, whatever there's theories about that, but I don't
Mhm.
think that was an accident. So
Of
people who
course
speak
not.
out, people who don't are not puppeted are often targeted. So
Of
this
course.
is a huge discussion. We could talk all night
Yeah.
about it.
We
Um,
can.
but
We
let me
can.
switch it up just a little bit and ask you, what are your thoughts on sort of how whatever happens? We're in a pandemic, so let's talk about that. What are your thoughts on this pandemic? Any thoughts you have that you care to share? You don't have to share if you don't want to.
Um. See, this is another issue that I'm always in these circle disagreements with a lot of my colleagues. Um. I believe that you can't make people do what you want to do unless you instill fear. And this goes all the way back to being in school. If somebody wants your lunch money,
Mm-hmm.
if you walk that same street every day, and I always bring this up, if you walk a street every day to go to school, Lori,
Mm-hmm.
and this is person waiting for you, and they tell you give you your money, you fight for it, they beat you up, they take it. After getting beat up so many times, you're just gonna walk by them hand me your lunch money, and keep going, right? I believe that right now we are uh, being bullied by a system of with fear. Not saying that it doesn't exist, because a lot of things exist. We have viruses in our body. We have millions of viruses in our body already.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Corona is one of them that's been in our body. But I just feel like it's being used and it's being media fueled, and it's to scare everybody so that they can uh, get their way,
Mm-hmm.
and we could do whatever we wanted. I mean, come on, black people wearing a mask in a building and getting away with it. If we would have done that a year ago, wearing a mask going into a place, they would have followed us around the store. You already know that. Why you got a mask on? You know what I mean? But now we all
Yeah.
got masks on. Now they're telling us to stand apart. I just feel like, but nobody ever spoke about, hey guys, this is a pathogen where you need to have a strong immune system. You need to
Mm-hmm.
build up your immune system. Nobody ever spoke of. Nobody spoke of. So I already knew it was
Yeah.
another event planned by a higher organization, who I will not mention. But
Mm-hmm.
I already knew once they said do three things, I knew it was some crap at that point.
Look,
I knew it.
I love what you're saying. I appreciate that. And I know that there's a lot of folks who feel like there is at the hand of someone else or some other group. But I want to circle back to what you said, because it's an important public health point. Is, for many public health experts, and I worked in public health for 15 years, and would tell people, listen, if you want to avoid being sick, here's what you got to do. You have to do X, Y, and Z. It's not a secret. If you don't eat leafy green
Yeah.
vegetables, you get sick. If you don't move your
Yes.
body, you get sick. If
Yes.
you're around sick people, you get sick. And when steps are taken to try to nudge people in the right direction, then it's called government overreach. What do you think of that?
I agree.
Do you
I
agree
agree.
that do you agree that it's government overreach, or that, I mean, because I didn't think so. I mean, I thought if you asking Lori Branch, and I work for the government, and I'm saying, look, I'm studying this is what I do 24/7. I'm studying this stuff. I'm trying to say, okay,
Oh,
you want to live a
got you.
long, healthy life? Here's what all the evidence is. You need to eat green vegetables. You need to not have a
Yeah, for
liter
sure.
of
For sure.
soda with every meal. And people
Absolutely.
were like freaking out, like, you're trying to tell us how to live our lives. It's like, no, I'm trying to tell you how to live.
Period. And
Right.
look, I'm a fat guy. Okay. Let's make it clear. Everybody know I'm a big dude. However, I'm never a sickly big dude. You don't ever see me in the house with flued up, cold, messed up, because I do understand that with your immune system, just say you don't eat the correct foods, but you can
Mm-hmm.
take your zinc, you can take your vitamin D, your vitamin C, your iodines, whatever you need for your body. Those
Mm-hmm.
supplements. Take those supplements. And
I
I
hear
mean,
you.
we need to be, yeah, we need to be taught how to take care of ourselves, and no
We do.
governmental body has told us that. So we already know. Once you tell us a way that we can be better, and you tell us to stand apart, it is something bigger to the picture.
So
Period.
Ron, as a previous public health official, I don't know if I call myself an official, but I certainly work for the
I mean,
government.
you probably can. You can.
I would shout it from the mountaintops. I would say it in groups. I did TV shows. I did PSAs. I did all kinds of
Hmm.
stuff, trying to say, here's what the evidence shows. Here's what the science shows. Here's what my personal experience is. Here's how
Right.
what my relatives' experience is. And so, is it
Exactly.
that the government's not saying it, or that people don't want to hear it?
I don't think the media is not saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I would have to dig deeper to let people know why I'm saying this. Okay. So if you created a system, Lori, And
Mm-hmm.
your system that you've lived under, you ruled
Mm-hmm.
people under, is now being attacked. You're going to do whatever you got to do to stop whomever from,
Mm-hmm.
getting in the way of your system.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell people right now, this is a fight between the Aryan and the Zionist Jew. This is the fight. It's not black people. We
Mm.
should be in the background waiting our turn to take control. However,
Right.
we get emotionally involved in everything.
Right.
So, and the thing about the Zionist Jew, and I got plenty of friends who are these people, and they always say, you all are the most emotionally led people we've ever met. And it's true. We do everything through emotion. Most of us.
Well, I will say that if we're talking about black people, there's that's a whole another topic. Many of us act on emotion, but I don't know if you've seen this book, Hate Monger. It's interesting that you mentioned Aryan because this woman, a really great writer, Jean Guerrero, wrote this book about Stephen Miller, and that the white nationalist agenda is the strategy. That's the strategy. So I don't know if you believe that or not, but we're getting way too deep, and I want to talk to you about house music.
Yeah,
So
because once we get on this, people be like, tune out, tune out.
I know,
So
I
yeah,
know, I know. Okay,
let's
we're going to
tune
talk about
in.
house music. So
Let's talk
listen,
about
I think it's important. So I'll do this segue and ask this. What effect do you think what's happening in the world is having on house music?
well, to be honest with you, I think house um, is being embraced in such a magical way right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's lifting a lot of spirits, and I think it's opening a lot of doors for many people who didn't have the opportunity to express themselves through the music. I see a lot of Chicago artists getting love
Mm-hmm.
internationally,
Absolutely.
which is amazing. I think the creativity is amazing. People are making great songs and great tracks because we're taking our time and we're
Mm-hmm.
actually drafting these classics. I mean, just like the one right now with Immaculate and Black Widow. That
Yeah,
is
it's amazing.
poetry in motion, Um, called a Prather, what she did. Also, Ari Lords and my boy Rasul, Beautiful
Ari
Woman. The,
Lords. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
No, I've known her since she was born, by the way.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Since she was born. Me and her mom used to hang out at the what's the club that was on North Halsted Street on Fullerton? Can't remember the name of it, but we used to hang out there when she was pregnant with Ari Lord. So she's got a great
Wow.
voice.
Wow. Yeah, she does.
So
So
hey,
I'm very
listen,
proud. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that this is a time where house music is sort of having a new birth almost.
Yeah.
Places DJs who've never been heard before are now sort of getting a listen because people have time to concentrate on it. But I want
Yes,
to I want
sir.
to talk about Ron Carroll. This is the Vintage House Show. If you're just tuning in, our guest is Ron Carroll, and I want to the purpose of our show is to unpack some of the history. And I know that you've done this, Ron. You've had an amazing run. I know that you started in the late 80s,
Yeah.
both DJing and producing. I remember first sort of like having an encounter with you at the clubhouse, and I think it was like 91, 92. You
Did
were
I try to
DJing
talk to
there.
you?
Well, who knows? We were all drunk back then. You weren't drunk. I was.
That's
I don't.
hilarious.
I think you were being very sweet as you always are. But I was hanging out with Braxton
Oh
Holmes. You
yeah.
remember Braxton? He was
Oh yeah.
working there. I
Oh
think you
yeah.
guys were both doing parties there. But you've had an amazing run, and I know you've produced what 60, 70, 80 singles. How many albums?
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. So you're from Chicago. Where'd you grow up?
Yes.
Where'd you go to school? And how'd you get into?
Wow. Okay. Well, I grew up on the south side on a street called Euclid Avenue, which is like 1 block east of Jeffrey, no, 1 block west of Jeffrey
Hmm.
Boulevard, over there on 71st Street. Um, I went to Bryn Mawr Elementary, and then I went to South Shore high school.
Hey, Demetrius.
Now, what
Did
got me into house music was really funny because I was always in school. I was bullied a lot, because walking to school, beat up, couldn't get no girlfriend, wanted a little girlfriend on my arm, you know, we couldn't get nobody. And I remember that there was a sock hop. This is when you would just dance in your socks in your gym room. This I'm just explaining to people who don't know what a sock hop is.
I
So
remember
we
those?
going to you remember those, right? So we
Oh
going
yeah.
in to the gym. I'm in there, of course. Nobody's around me. I'm the little loner in the corner. But I noticed the DJ, and the DJ was sitting there, and I'm talking about, he looked horrible. Like, I was like, oh my God, this guy looks terrible. But he had these girls around him. So I'm like, what is going on here? How's he got all these girls around him?
It is
Right?
quite
And then
a calling card.
yeah, so I'm like, I'm looking at dude, and I'm like, okay, I'm watching him play. I'm watching the girls dance all around him. I said, well, look, if he can get girls while doing this, I'm going to do this so I can get some damn girls. That was me. That was my first thing about it. It wasn't even the music at the time. It was I saw girls liking him, so I wanted to do this thing because I wanted girls to like me. That's how I first started out. And so I watched him how he did it all night. I watched his hands, how he threw the record off, the whole nine with the pitch, all of that. Christmas time comes. Now me and my brother was sitting there. He was the cool one. I said, look, bro, you ask dad for a turntable. I'm gonna ask mom for a turntable. Because we had parents that were like running doing their thing. So my mom said, baby, what you want for Christmas? I said, Mom, I want a belt drive turntable. Right? And then my brother went to my dad, asked him for one. Christmas time came, both turntables was there.
That's all right.
Well, we didn't have a mixer. We forgot.
You forgot to
The
ask
mix-
for the mixer.
yeah, we forgot. So we finally borrowed a mixer from my friend, and then we started practicing buying records all over the city from imports, etc., to to Loop, all those spots, and we just started going. And once I got into it, though, I was like, man, it just stuck to me, became a part of me. Like it
Mhm.
went deep in my soul, and then I started really wanting to become something greater.
So I got two questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great story. And I have two questions as a follow-up. Did you get the girls?
Oh yes.
So it worked.
I mean, oh, it worked. It did work. But you get a lot of crazy girls. You know what I mean? You get the little
I
wild
do
ones.
know.
And me,
I do know.
and me. Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. So when you come, I was from a Christian home, so I
Yeah.
wasn't as wild mentally. So
Hmm.
when those girls came around, it was like, man, I didn't know they were this wild. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to handle them at first. I'm like, whoa, whoa. But then, over time, you learn. You learn
I
how to
think
work.
it's something we don't talk about that a lot, but DJing, and maybe it's not so much now, but back then it definitely gave you a calling card. It definitely gave you
Yes,
something that was attractive to people, and you didn't have to do anything but show up, and people were like, "Hey, want to be in
that's
your in
it.
your in your orbit," right?
Yeah, that's
George
it.
George George Jackson is saying something as crazy as hell. Laugh out loud. I really want to know what you're talking about, George. Is it the girls? I don't know.
Yeah.
So my second question was, when you got that bug, did you collaborate with anyone? Did you like you got the two turntables? You finally got
Mhm.
a mixer.
Mhm.
How did you put it all together? And then where did you take it?
Okay, so my brother and I started this DJ scene with his friend across the street named Brian. We called ourselves the Disco Jack Masters,
Okay.
and so we started doing the gym room parties at South Shore.
Okay.
And then we got deep into it. Like we had the shirts, we were coming in with the medallions, we walking in like we important, we started, doing our thing. We thought we were the G's, we coming in. And it was so funny because we were actually the first people to bring Ron Hardy to South Shore. We brought Ron Hardy to South
Really?
Shores.
Okay. So this is South Shore
And
High
those,
School, right?
yeah, South Shore High School. Yes. And when
How
we
did they
brought
receive?
Ron, now
Go ahead,
right,
honey.
we get into the response. Because South Shore was right there, but the cool schools were Hyde Park, Kenwood, CVS was okay. We always
Whitney
had
Young.
our Whitney Young. Ron came to South Shore. People were looking at him like, who is this? We don't know who this is. And me
How
and
did
my
they
brother,
perceive him?
they
Was he
were
like
just
Jimi
standing.
Hendrix or Prince? I mean, like, what were they
No,
thinking?
they were looking at him like they had no clue. They were just
Hmm.
staring. And we like Ron Hardy. We going around the gym like, this is Ron Hardy. This is Ron Hardy. And after that, I was like, what? South Shore is just like 30 years behind everybody else. Like living in the country. Like them kids did not know who that man was at all. So it was funny, but we did it. Yay.
So did he rock the crowd? Did he turn it out? What happened?
Well, only when he played stuff like "Is It All Over My Face."
Okay.
He had to go a little commercial on it. So once you start playing, jack your body, move your body, and all
Hmm.
of that, people started, But when he played Free Man and all that, no, they didn't. They didn't know what that was.
They're like, I don't get it. All right, a couple shout outs.
Exactly.
Hey, Carla Prather, we were just talking about you. Thanks for tuning in.
Carla.
Annette McGee, Larry Tucker, Linda Red, what's up? Louis Green in the house. So y'all not watching the debate? Is it over yet? Because I had to stop so I could talk to my man Ron here. If
Yeah.
so, I would love to know who y'all thought won the debate. Won the debate. Let us know who you thought.
You
He
already
said
know the
Larry
women.
Tucker said it was Larry.
The women gonna go for the women. You already know. It's
Uh,
already pre-done. You already
well,
know.
you can't go for Mr. Freeze. What they call him, not the Heat Miser. That's Trump. He's
Oh,
the
he Mr. Freeze. He
Mr.
do look like
I
Mr.
miss.
Freeze.
He does.
He does.
Uh,
He does
uh,
like Mr. Freeze.
anyway, y'all not okay. So Linda said, Kamala won a
Hmm.
debate. She did look really good. I watched a few minutes of it, and she looked very confident. The other dude was kind
Yeah.
of defending himself because shit, they got a lot to answer for. But who doesn't? So anyway, we're going back to Ron Carroll. Y'all might not like my opinions either, but that's okay. That's for another show. So Ron
Yes.
has
Yes.
so you did South. What was the first club that you did as a big party? Walk us through that night.
Okay. So I was invited to play at a hotel party. I think we were at the Hotel Continental. The promoter was Marvin Terry.
Okay.
Okay. And it was one of those nights where my brother and I was like, wow, we're playing at the Hotel Continental. Oh my God. Oh, of course, when we played, of course, the first couple of records, you shake it a little bit. Your hand, your hand is shaking as you put the needle on, because first time doing something like that.
I know
And
this. Your
we would
heart.
have warm up. Oh
Yeah.
yes, yes. And we would have warm up. But during those parties back then, there were like literally hundreds of people there at the beginning, because that's
Right.
how those hotel parties work. So we're shaking. A couple of blends was off a little bit, but then we started to get into it towards the end, and we established a relationship with Marvin Terry. Since that point, we started doing other little stuff with Ferris and with Andre, and that's how I got to meet a lot of those guys was through the promoters. So big ups to my man Marvin Terry and to my man DeAndre Sanders as well for giving me some spotlight during those times.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate that. The Hotel Continental, we've talked about that in the past. That was a place that a lot of house music, sort of early house music, was tried on, tested out. There was a
For
lot of
sure.
a lot of people using that space. What made it special? Why the Hotel Continental?
I think hotel parties in general was
Hmm.
a way for the teenager to have a
Hmm.
house music experience. Um, of course, you had the clubs that were open, but a lot of people couldn't get into those venues, either where you weren't of age or you weren't cool enough, you didn't know members of the staff or whatever, security or whatever. So the hotel parties was an open place for everybody to really get that house experience, and that's why people like Lil Lewis became the famous person he became because those hotel so-called quote unquote kiddie parties, a lot
Hmm.
of people name them kiddie parties.
Hmm.
um, that's where a lot of house music was born. A lot of big hits were born,
Hmm.
like Move Your Body, Jack Your Body, Strings of Life. All of these tunes were really blown up in those arenas, in my opinion.
In the hotel parties, we don't talk about that a lot. I really appreciate you bringing it up, because it
Oh
talks
yeah,
about
okay.
club culture for young people, which was an important way that house music was proliferated. Is that
Yes.
so? When we think about the house music culture, sort of
Mhm.
pre-house music canon, it
Yes.
was young people clubs. It was the warehouse, even though that warehouse was the we think of it as adults. You only had to be 18 to get in there. You only
It's
had to be
true.
18 to get into the music box
It's true.
you know, and the other clubs where no one carded you anyway, the Loft and Sours and these other
Mhm.
sort of early clubs, 14-year-olds were going up in there. So,
Yeah,
it
that's true.
really was born of this young culture. And I think when you start getting into that hotel, the hotels that started hosting, and they were doing that. Like I remember I want to say the Allegro, someone AL something. I remember a lot of the early parties were at some of these hotels. That became
Yeah.
really when you when there was no music box and folks were losing their
Yes.
ability to throw those kind of parties.
Yes. You had the Ascot Hotel. That was on Michigan,
Hmm.
um, which was a small hotel. That's where I saw Lil Lewis for the first time, and I met Gene Hunt for the first time at the Ascot Hotel. And that's when me and Gene Hunt connected. And it's funny because when I met Gene Hunt, I love the way he played so much because it was straight up like West Side DJs
Hmm.
type of thing. And when I met him, yo, it's almost like I became his manager, and I had my own and I had my own career to try to take care of, but I was like, no, so I introduced him to the Bad Boys and everything, Steve P and all those guys. I'm like, this is a monster right here,
That's right.
Terry Hunter first play. So
I'll
I
show
can
you
see
that
that.
comment. Yeah, Bismarck. Terry Hunter played, worked
Hmm.
at MF at Bismarck Hotel.
Oh yeah,
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 I think hotels are having a comeback. Seems like more and more people are using them than they were before.
yeah, yeah. But I think we need to start reaching out to our younger audience a little more. I think we'll
Yeah.
become really, age separated. Come on in. That's what I'm
What's
talking
up,
about.
Lauren?
Come on in.
So you missed our talk about the debate, Lauren. Uh,
I heard a little bit.
okay. How was it?
It was. I'm getting mad feedback. Why am I getting?
I
Oh,
don't
I
know.
know why. I really, yeah. It was a great debate. You all are having a great conversation too, and I loved you all's discourse on what's happening in the world today. But I want to keep going with what
Yes.
you all were talking about. I want to jump back towards the end as we
Yeah, yeah.
talk about the future. Which is
Well,
all what this is all about.
I know, and Ron's been so gracious because I know he's got other things to do this evening because he's a busy, popular dude.
What?
Uh, so,
Hey
so
Ron,
You're
we
how
so
are you?
damn
we have
funny,
we
Lord have
still have
mercy.
him for for 25 minutes. So let's
Right.
make the most. And
Exactly.
hey, if you are watching, Ron Carroll is our guest. We're talking about Ron's career. We're just talking about hotels and sort of the significant role they play in the beginning of house music, and maybe they're having a comeback. So Annette McGee, thanks for tuning in. She mentioned that McCormick Place with Farley. So Annette, I want to say something about McCormick Place. I don't know if Vertigo was the first, but we were doing parties at social club I was in 80, 81, 82. Lauren, I think that's you, but um, there we go. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Getting a lot of feedback. All right. Ron, that might have been you. Okay. So anyway, sorry for the interruption. But I lost my thought. McCormick Place was a great place. A lot of folks were doing parties there. Vertigo did a big fashion show. Other folks. Ron, did you ever do McCormick Place or someplace on that scale when you were starting?
Okay, so I got the greatest McCormick Place story of all time. So I was supposed to play for Marvin Terry at this massive McCormick Place party, and my brother and I, all of our homies were there together, and so excited, right? Like, oh, this is gonna be the biggest one ever. I mean, it seemed like he had every DJ name known to man from every time. He was doing an award show, and everything was great. Why did he not get the right license to throw the party? Why did the music keep going on and off? Then the lights came
What
up.
happened?
Now we were there for about an hour and a half. In an hour and a half, he had 2,000 people in there already. In an hour and a half, this was going to be insane. All of a sudden, people started chanting, "We want our money back! We want our money back!" Now we're sitting in the middle of the floor. All of a sudden, a chair goes flying, and it hits one of those glass little panes on the little wall. It crashes. People start cheering. Once they started cheering, you know everybody else go join in the fun, right? Now everybody else started tearing up the ballroom. We got our stuff. We walked out, and it was on the news. Like, it was the biggest, like, party turned anarchist, thing. Crazy. It was crazy. But everybody was so upset. I mean, and I was too. I'm like, man, I was supposed to play the best party and not tear the place up. So I never got a chance to play. But I did watch him tear it up, which was, interesting to see people throw chairs and stuff. So it's kind of nice. Cool. It was kind of cool.
It's crazy. I know that there are parties that go south.
Yeah.
I like that you brought that up. I think you got to turn your something down, Ron.
Okay, hold on.
Do you have? Maybe it's your.
If he had on headphones, you wouldn't hear the feedback. You're hearing what he's hearing, and it's coming back to us on the air.
Okay, that's better.
Is it better?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I'm in the car, ladies. I'm sorry. As soon as we're done, I got a meeting at this place, so I'm in the car doing the interview right now.
Of course you do.
The sexy life.
I like that. I like that a lot. So we were talking about parties that didn't happen. I know Craig Loftus and I were hired to do a party. I think it was at Corliss, one of those high schools, and the equipment never showed up. It was just the most embarrassing. Oh, I swear, if you were one of those students, I'm going to ask for your forgiveness all these years later because it wasn't my fault. We had a really bad situation where the equipment guy just did not show up and we did not have a backup plan. And ever since then,
Mm.
I always have a backup plan.
Yes, yes,
I
that's
have one
important.
powered speaker in my trunk and it's
There
ready to
you
go.
go. There you go. You ready to
So
go, no matter what.
I I want to switch gears a little bit, Ron, and talk about your producing because you've been very prolific. What was your first record that became well known was My Prayer,
Hmm?
and that was in 1989, I think.
Yeah, 89, 90. Yes.
Let's talk about what happened. How'd you do that? Got in the studio.
Oh,
What was your inspiration? And then let's move
well,
forward from there.
well, the key, coming from a Christian background, my father was against me doing anything secular. And even though I was loving house music, playing it, me performing it was like the biggest no-no in the world. And at the time, my friends Big Ed, Harold Matthews, and also Ron Trent were like, dude, you can do house music and talk about God at the same time, bro. And I'm like, I can? Because I'm thinking, you got to talk about moving and jacking and gyrate. It's like, no, we can talk about God. I said, wow, okay. So we get together. Big Ed is a great, great writer. And we sat there and we came up and he came up with my prayer. And it was perfect because it went in lines with, first of all, how my family was. And I thought it'd be something great. And also, it fit my voice at the time. And I thought that I didn't have a house music voice. I really didn't. I was like, man, my voice is not a house music voice. But we did the record anyway. The mixes came out, and people really, really gravitated to the song. And some people say that was the very first gospel house track in their opinion. And I was like, wow. So I mean, it broke a lot of ground in the beginning for sure. And we started our thing with hula and fingers, and from there came a new day and pressing on and all around me, and that was the very humble beginnings of our things together. So it was a great beginning, no doubt.
You know, I appreciate your story, Ron, because so much of what we're doing is rooted in gospel music. You are a singer. Is that you getting that feedback too, Lauren?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still hearing a little feedback. Apologies. But I wanted to know you're a singer and you have an amazing voice. What church did you go to, and how did you reconcile? I mean, you talked a little bit about my prayer was your reconciliation. Someone saying that you can still be saved and sing house music. So how was that perceived in the church that you went to? Where'd you go?
I went to the great Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church, which was at 4501 South Vincennes Avenue. Um, and those old school Christians in there, when they put that little whirly beat on it, none of them liked it. I was so excited. I'm like playing it. I'm like, listen to it. They like that's the world music. You're gonna go to hell, and they was going crazy. It was like I felt like I was a Satanist at the church because they did not like that little beat under those lyrics. They did not. So I had to go through a little persecution. But that's old school church. We were very strict back then.
Hey, some of them are still very strict today. My family's from Kojic, so trust me, I know all about strict.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
it don't get much stricter than that, but
Y'all
anyway,
go hard.
that's another story. Uh, so someone said that you play gospel house. Who's that? Annette chiming in again. Thanks for chiming in so much. Love you love when Ron Carroll plays gospel house. Keep playing it. Go working out to it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, yeah.
So
It's a part of me for sure. It's
Hey,
just
I love gospel house. I've done whole gospel house CDs, and it's like there's so much good gospel house music out there. I think house music, even
oh
without
yeah,
calling it house music, is rooted in gospel. You know, you can't.
for
There's an
sure,
undeniable
for
connection
sure.
to that.
I was always really
Oh yeah,
intrigued
oh
with
yeah.
Daryl Pandy and his ability to be so versatile. Really enjoyed his music. I can hear my feedback. So, but I always thought, I wonder why we didn't bring much of that, the synergies of the music together from the church when Daryl Pandy would be in everybody's church and then singing top of the line house music. I always felt like it shouldn't be a disconnect, but I didn't think that it was, what you're saying is what some of us really didn't think was that big of a deal. But yeah, the worldly part of what they considered the sort of music across the board, whether it's R&B and whatever. If you went from the gospel genre to R&B, again, it was worldly. If you went to gospel genre to house music, certainly you were definitely going to hell. So I'm sure it was a disconnect.
Yeah, we were actually pre-burning before we went. They made sure that we were pre-burning. Okay, I'm so serious. It's crazy. And big shouts out to definitely Daryl and his legacy. Daryl definitely set a legacy in this game for sure.
So let me talk about some of the collaborations. So, Daryl, wonderful, beautiful spirit. You worked with Byron Stingley and CeCe Pennison and so many folks. Talk about some of the collabs. Maybe start with like your favorite and why.
Well, I learned a lot from Byron Stingley because Byron really took me under his wing as a little brother, and it's almost like it forced me to become a better writer, a better arranger through him. Um, I remember we were working. He was working on this album project, his solo project with Nervous, and the brother just grabbed me, was like, "Let's go." I remember him calling me one day, "Hey, what you doing?" I'm like, "I'm at home." He's like, "Okay, get dressed. We about to drive to New York." And I was like, "Okay." I put a bag together and we went to New York. And from there, I was able to meet and work with him and MK, Mark Kitchen, Frankie Knuckles, which was with Eric Cupper as well. So she told me, um, Kerry Chandler, a lot of people because of him. And there was this one guy that was working in the studio with Frankie when we did Back to Paradise. And I forgot his name, but he was an arranger. And just watching him as a vocal producer blew my mind. Just to know that they got guys who just go in studios in New York to do vocal production. And he was the guy that took me under his wing. And another guy as well who took me under his wing, and I appreciate him, was Maurice Joshua. Maurice Joshua, because of him, I was able to meet Destiny's Child in their
Mm.
beginning phase when Maurice was doing all of these big remixes. And because I would basically help Maurice with like restructuring the melodies of these R&B songs to house, we actually had a session in New York with Destiny's Child, and it was amazing to meet them and to work with Mo. So yeah, those two guys, when it came to really taking me under their wing and taking me places to have that experience, those two guys definitely hats off and big kiss to those brothers for sure.
Talk about the Barbara Tucker story. Reginald said you better talk about the Barbara Tucker story.
Okay, so Miss Barbara Tucker. All right, this is how this happened. So there's a thing called the Winter Music Conference. I'm sure we're all familiar with the Winter Music Conference, or some people might. And I remember me and my friend and also, uh, co-writer we co-wrote together a lot of songs. Big Ed was supposed to come with me, and he was unable to come. So I'm like, all right, bro, I'm just gonna go and represent us. I remember we were at the hotel on Ocean Drive, not on Ocean Drive, sorry. Um, I keep forgetting the name of this hotel, but they used to be in the back during in the pool area, big hotel. And this is when Strictly Rhythm and Nervous and all those labels were massive. Okay, like you would see those artists and be blown away. And I remember seeing Dave Shaw, Louis Vega, Gladys Pizarro, Barbara, India, all of them were together by the pool. So I went over to the payphone, called Big Ed, like Ed, Louis and them are all at the pool. Bro, I'm about to go ask him, can we write for him? I'm about to go do it. He was like, you gonna do it? I'm like, I'm gonna go ask him. I mean, all he can say is no. We were on the phone for about 20 minutes. All he can say is no. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna go over there. And I remember going over to Louis. I said, hi, Louis. My name is Ron Carroll. I'm from Chicago. Me and my friend Big Ed, we are great writers. And I know that if you give us an opportunity to write something for you, you will be very happy with it. He paused and he said, okay, write the next Barbara Tucker record. Now, at the time, Beautiful People was out. And I'm like, what did he just say? Beautiful People was big. And you telling me, okay, write the next Barbara Tucker. I'm like, what? So I ran back. I didn't even finish what Louis said. Well, I ran back to the phone. I put that little 50 cent in the phone, called Ed. I'm screaming, Ed, you're not going to believe this. They're closed? Oh, wow. Wow, okay. I said, Ed, oh my God. Louis said for us to write the next Barbara Tucker. Oh my God. So we going crazy. But then we got back home, about a week went by, and then he sent us a tape with a little beat on it. We said, okay, wow. And then here comes, we wrote it. I Get Lifted.
That's right.
We did a scratch vocal. We sent it over. He said, you know what, guys, I like it. He said, can y'all do something for me? Like what? He's like, come to New York. We're like, what? Come to New York. So me and Ed flew to New York. I'm so frantic. I left my belt in Chicago. I had to put a what do you call one of those extension cords? I had to put an extension cord around my waist to keep my pants up because we was nice and broke. Okay, nice and broke. So I couldn't buy another belt. So I took a extension cord and wrapped it around for the whole time we were there. And so we went to the studio, and in the studio was Kenny Dope, La India, Donald Rush, Donnell Rush, I think, all those guys. We were shockstruck. It was amazing, amazing.
I Get Lifted is a classic. Is one of my favorites. I play it all the time. It's still in rotation. Ron's got so many great songs. I want to ask you if you had to name your top five out of all the tracks that you've done. What would you do? And then I want to talk before we get too far gone about what you're doing now and a little bit about La Nocturne because that's what you're doing now. But let's start with your. You don't have to do five. Top three. What would you say?
Let's see. I really love doing A New Day. That was my favorite single for myself. Uh, as far as writing, um, I Get Lifted because of the story, because of where it took us from that moment. Performing wise, there's songs that I did with more like EDM artists that a lot of people didn't hear, but one was with a group that was signed to Axwell's label. I work with the Swedish House Mafia a lot.
Hmm.
Songs like "Don't You Worry, Child" and things like that. With Bob Sinclair, "World Hold On," and songs like "Love Generation." Those songs I'll never forget. And even "Back Together," I did with Hard Soul, and the kooky one, which is "Walking Down the Street" with my Nike song. All of them have certain unique stories that I will never forget as long as I live, and that's why they're special to me.
You know, you've been so prolific. I think you're one of the most prolific people we've had on this show to date, and I can speak for myself as a DJ. I love your music. You're so talented. I always keep it in rotation. I want to ask you though, as a DJ, do you like when other DJs play your music? Do you like to hear it in mixes?
Do you like to hear it in mixes? Oh my God, I gotta laugh. I'm sorry because I do not like hearing my voice. Like if you play a song that I produced, I'm cool with it. But if you play something I'm singing on, I'm like la 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 with my ears closed. Like I don't know why, but I don't like hearing other DJs play songs that I sing on. It's weird.
That's
It's really
hysterical.
weird. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to hear it. I'm very like that. Very like
Okay.
that.
So let's talk about you. You got a lot of stuff going on now. I heard one of the tracks you played when I was at Atlanta Nocturne. So thank you for inviting me. That was a really fun show. You got a great thing going on. So talk a little bit about your partnership with this club and why that club.
Well, I linked up with that club because of the owner. His name is Francois. His passion for wanting to deliver the house sound to the city is so big. His heart is so big for the house community that it was just a spiritual connect.
Hmm.
And and it's not. I like when people not focus on money, but focus on experience and focus on the vibe. When people focus on money, you lose a lot of that inner spiritual part of you that you could deliver to people, where you'll be taken care of anyway. Your ancestors will make sure that you eat, but you have to give of yourself to the people through music. And I think this guy has that vision where he moved all the way from Paris to open a club in the birthplace of house, and that's how we connected. And he was a great guy. So we
That's
started doing the
fantastic.
shows, because when everything got shut down, I remember me, him, and the general manager Miguel was sitting together, and we were like, well, "What are we gonna do from this point?" And I'm like, "Man, let's go live. Let's just do it." And this is when everything was completely shut down. Like driving your car to a certain area, you're getting questioned. There are many times I will pull up to Nocturne, the police like, "Where you going?" And so it was that moment, and we just been connected ever since. And we start bringing on great people like yourself express themselves. So it's a good thing.
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope you guys continue to do it. I mean, I feel like you are opening it up now so that people can physically come to the club. Is that what's going on now? Can people actually come to the club?
Yes, people can come to the club now and get the experience. Of course, there are guidelines that we have to follow. So I kind of look at Nocturne is not a club right now, but like an ultra lounge. It's like
Okay.
an ultra lounge appeal. Okay. Right now we can't look at it as a nightclub. So we have to say, okay, we're just going to sit together. We're going to gather together and have fun, drink, be merry, and listen to great tunes. And that's how we look at it now. And it's been growing very, very well. You got to come play for one of those too, because it's really nice.
Whenever you say so, I am totally there. So, I know you've got to get off in a second, but I want to say thank you again, but I also want to ask you, what do you wish for our community? What do you wish for the house music community? I want you to direct people to your music. Where can they find it? What should they be looking for? And just something that you could leave with the folks who are watching and who will watch this show tomorrow and the day after. What's Ron Carroll's message for the house community world?
Wow. Well, I just want everybody to live a free life. And we have to make sure that, huh? Well, yeah, medium well. Medium, yeah. Sorry.
No worries.
I think that we have to live a life where we create our own reality within reality. We have to know that we have our own world that we can design through music. And that's the most important thing to me is creating your own world with the music, and if we do that, and we can do it individually. There are a lot of people, I know we have this, a lot of people have arguments about getting put on and doing this and doing that. I just feel like everybody, if you just create your own world, your own utopia, whether it's a million people there or two people there or just a bunch of friends, just right now we just need utopias where we can escape and come together and celebrate this beautiful thing called music. So Chicago, a lot of people, I think we need to continue that path. As far as musically, you can find my labels, which are Electric Disco and Chicago Soul Exchange, and we're both on TrackSource exclusively. Um, and you can find me on Instagram, Ron Carroll BMC. That's B as in boy, M as in Michael, C as in Charles. And even at Twitter, the same feed. And yeah, Facebook, just Ron Carroll. SoundCloud, Mixcloud, Twitch, just Ron Carroll. Two R's and two L's though. Two R's and two L's. Yes.
Well, Ron, we love you, and I so appreciate you taking the time out to speak with us, speak to our audience. And I would do anything you ask me to do. I'm there for you. And I know that many DJs are so appreciative of just the path you've made for yourself and for Chicago and for house music. It would not be the same without you. So thank you so much. Lauren, did you want to send Ron off with some warm wishes?
Ron, thank you so much for your work and your continued work. And we look forward to seeing you in person, whether it's Le Nocturne or someplace else. We're going to see you soon, I hope.
Definitely. And we got to go to dinner, ladies, for sure, and hang out, so we can all just be sexy and have a good time. Everybody stay sexy, my friends. Stay sexy at all times, my friends.
Stay sexy. All right. Well, on that note, everybody stay sexy, and we will see you next week with Mega with his guest, and we'll be doing it to the end of the year. You guys stay safe. Everybody vote and love and respect. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, honey.